I met my wife when we were in college, from the UK, think high school if you're from the US, at the age of 17. We both fell very hard on each other. We were young, and idiots, and I accidentally got her pregnant. Everyone around us, including our parents, told us parenting was great, and that we were such strong people that we could do it. So, we decided to keep the baby. We had a beautiful little girl, and we loved her with all our hearts. However, we were 18 at the time. We had no money, were struggling to get jobs, and we had no idea how difficult a kid would be. Our parents turned sour once the baby was born, telling us we were stupid and they wouldn't help us. After 7 months of struggling financially and mentally, we put our wonderful daughter up for adoption, and she was taken from us. I don't like to think or talk about this time. As you can imagine, it was the worst thing in the world. I never have and never will go through anything worse, but we knew she deserved a better life than we could give her. The family did not want to tell her she was adopted until she was much older, so we haven't seen or heard from our baby girl since then. We got through it together. We are both 29 now. We both redid our A-levels, went to university, married at 24, and are now financially stable and own a house together. Last night I decided to ask her if she thought she wanted to have children with me. It went 0 to 100 really quick. She screamed and she sobbed. She told me I was a horrible, horrible man and how could I even suggest having kids after what happened. I told her I understood it was difficult to think of, but it has been a while, and we are equipped to be parents now, but she insisted that I was an idiot for even suggesting we replace our daughter. No idiots here. You two made the 100% correct decision. But you are in a different place now and are ready. It's different. I assume maybe she hasn't dealt with it as well as you have. She carried the baby for 9 months and loved her for 7, and obviously beyond. She probably feels guilty that if she has another kid it would be like replacing the one you already had. Did you talk about this before marriage? Because it is sort of a big deal. Not the idiot. Obviously, she still has some large open wounds and I would recommend individual and couples counseling for both of you to really work through it. Sounds like you both just pushed it down and never really dealt with the trauma. And it will continue to be until you can both verbalize your feelings, past and present, in a healthy way. Not the idiot. Your chance of happiness was ruined by your financial situation. Now you are finally doing well and she doesn't want children. She could just say no. Instead, she screamed at you and berated you. If she doesn't want a replacement child, I suggest you get in contact with the people who adopted your daughter and meet her. Let her know why you put her up for adoption. But I disagree with your wife saying you'd be replacing your daughter. If you had new children, you would have a brother/sister for your daughter, even if she is with other parents. I have been in a group of friends, husbands, wives, kids, for almost 20 years. We started out as a neighborhood group and have grown bigger as our friendships have evolved and most of us have moved out of the original subdivision. We are adults 40 to 50 years old. The men play golf almost every weekend and one evening during the week. Holidays and birthdays are big get-togethers with sometimes 50 people. I am currently the only unmarried person in the group, divorced in 2011. This is the sticky part. About 7 to 8 months ago, one of the women in the group named Cindy, started coming on to me. While flattered, I would never do anything as I like her husband Mike and have known her kids since they were preschoolers. It seemed like a little harmless flirting at first, but then it moved into some very direct propositioning. She had her reasons for wanting to have love and put a mild bit of pressure on me to begin an affair with her. One of the ways she pressured me was to text me some private pictures and those soon moved to private pictures and videos. It really put me in an awkward spot and I told her that. My response was that I found her attractive, but she was strictly off limits to me since she was married. Even if I didn't know her husband, I still would not have done anything. And I didn't. A few months ago, I found out that I had missed a few golf days and I just chalked it up to bad timing. Well, there was a huge fourth get-together and I asked around about it and it seemed no one would own up to me not being invited. Apparently, there have been other events that I didn't know about and I wasn't invited there either. I finally got some answers last night when I ran into a friend and her daughter at the grocery store. She would barely look at me when I spoke to her and her teenage daughter spilled the beans. Cindy was caught with the private pictures on her phone and confessed to Mike that I had put her up to it and was pressuring her to have an affair. Needless to say, I was stunned at this revelation. I thanked her for her honesty and went home and thought about it for a long time. I have saved every single text and picture. Last night I printed them all out. If I showed Mike 10% of what she said to me and what she sent to me, he might leave her. Meanwhile, I am pushed out of my friend group for doing what I thought was right. I told her at the beginning that this was heading down a road of hurt, but when she got to the painful part, she pushed me under the bus. Update: I reached out to Mike and he texted me that he never wants to see or talk to me ever again. Some of you have suggested that I reach out to a leader in the group and I have done that. I will be meeting with another couple tonight. She is a gossip, so anything I show her or tell her will be public knowledge 2 hours after I leave their house. You get what you get. Update 2. It turns out that the whole group knows nothing, just a few. Mike and Cindy filed for divorce in January due to his infidelities and tried to keep it private. From my end, everything is good. It turns out that both are idiots. Not the idiot, you definitely let it go on too far with her getting to the point of sending pictures. Should have ended long before that if you were really the she's off limits type. Put the truth out there. She threw you under the bus. Time for the truth to come out then. No reason she should lie and get rewarded. I think this is an everyone's the idiot here. It doesn't seem like OP was ever going to tell Mike that his wife was trying to step out on him. Even if OP proves that he did not initiate any of these conversations, Mike has seen that OP was at least willing to keep the wife's attempted infidelity a secret. That isn't a friend he can trust. You are the idiot, if you don't tell Mike the truth. You tried to give her the benefit of the doubt of maybe you were just the one person she can't control, but guess what, she is a liar and no doubt she has done or will do this again. Show Mike 100%. If the friendship group dies, it dies, but let it die for the truth, not lies. I started dating my now wife when my stepdaughter, SD, was 13. She was an unruly child who constantly cried and whined and lashed out for attention. My wife couldn't take SD's crap anymore, so she kicked her out when she was 14. SD moved in with her father, who's rude to me and my wife, but he did a good job disciplining SD. He had turned her into a nice, quiet, and obedient child. SD continued to behave and treat us with respect until she moved to another city when she was 24. She stopped coming home for the holidays. My wife was devastated, but she understood that SD needed to have a life of her own. SD is 28 now, and the angry emails started coming 2 years ago. They're incoherent, rant-filled emails with all kinds of outlandish accusations toward my wife. Lots of accusations of neglect and abuse are being thrown around. More accusations of favoring her siblings over her. My wife tried to justify herself in the beginning, but it only made SD angrier, so my wife decided to ignore these emails altogether. Every time my wife gets one of these nasty emails, she breaks down crying. She has had to call off work to recoup from the pain of reading these emails. I've spent countless hours comforting my wife and telling her that she was not the problem and SD just needed therapy to deal with her own issues instead of taking them out on my wife. My wife has another daughter who's SD's younger sister. Honestly, she's much nicer and gets along with my wife. She goes to my wife every time she has a problem and my wife helps her out. She treats my wife with respect and there's nothing but love between the two of them. They have an excellent mother-daughter relationship. SD has always been very jealous of her sister, and she resents the wonderful relationship her mother and sister have. Last November, South Dakota's younger sister found out she was pregnant, and the baby's father skipped out on her. Of course, she came to my wife for comfort. We offered to let her move in with us until she got back on her feet. SD found out what happened and she flipped out. My wife got yet another angry email. SD accused her of always making time for her younger sister and not her. My wife was stressed out about the pregnancy, so she ignored SD's email. I read it and decided that enough was enough. I emailed SD. Told her to stop living in the past, and if she treated her mother better, she'd have a relationship with her like her younger sister does. Of course, SD got angry. She sent everyone in the family a goodbye letter and cut all of us out of her life. My wife is devastated and they're all blaming me for driving her away. I thought that she was just bluffing for attention, but it's been 8 months and none of us have heard a peep from her. I still think I did the right thing by putting her in her place. She probably felt that no one would take her crap anymore, so she fled. But I still feel bad for driving a bigger wedge between her and her mother. You are the idiot. You are not her father and have no right to referee the relationship between your wife and her daughter. You essentially kicked her out as a kid and wonder why she has issues with you and her mom? Her mom picked you over her. That's the problem. And every time you nudge in, that makes it worse. So now she broke contact because guess what? She's sick of dealing with you to get to her. Everyone's the idiot here. It seems all the adults thought of this child as a purposefully vile and terrible individual, which led to her being kicked out at 14. 14. And you're being very vague about how her dad magically disciplined her to be obedient and quiet. From what you write, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if SD's males hold at least a grain, or likely more, of truth. You are all awful. You abandoned this child, and this is the consequence. You are the idiot, she's not your daughter and you've clearly never had a relationship, so it's not your place to interfere. How was your wife and SD's relationship before you came into the picture? It sounds like she was acting out for attention like any 13-year-old, especially one with a little sister and now a new man in her dad's life, and the solution was to kick her out. Regardless of age, she's still the child, and once you kick your child out, how do you expect them to act? I have a 16-year-old son with severe physical disabilities. He uses a motorized wheelchair and requires help to get in and out of it. My husband and I are in a friend's group of families with similarly disabled children. My son recently announced that he is dating a 17-year-old girl from the group. My only problem is that this girl has severe mental and physical disabilities. She has the mental capacity of a young child, is mostly nonverbal, and has tics that will cause her to hit other people in the vicinity. My son has zero mental disabilities. I was very uncomfortable with this relationship because of the huge difference in mental capabilities. My husband felt the same but not as strongly. However, literally, everyone in the group has been thrilled about this romance. Especially the girl's parents. They are talking about the two getting married for heaven's sake. I thought that I'd just wait it out and have our son realize on his own that he cannot have a meaningful relationship with this girl. But it's been 5 months and it's only getting worse. I ended up putting my foot down and informed both my son and the girl's parents that this relationship was completely inappropriate. Especially since my son has now started being hit by the girl during her tics and he is physically unable to defend himself. My husband supported me in this. We have become enemy number one ever since. The parents have attacked us through texts and have turned everyone in the group of friends against us. But the thing that has hurt us most is our son's reaction. He has accused us of ruining his one shot at love. We've been to family therapy, but my son has decided to ignore us completely, not give us the silent treatment. My husband and I have decided not to cave. Not the idiot, dude. You have to explain to your son though that it's wrong to be with someone that has the mental capacity of a child when he has the capacity of a boy his age. If anything, it's kind of gross and wouldn't fly if they were both able-bodied but had the same mentality, so why would it be okay if they aren't? It's a bad situation which can get him labeled as a predator. Not the idiot. Let's put it this way, if your child was disability-free as was his GF, and there was abuse, you would stop it. Now, I do understand the abuse is due to her disability, but you should not have to let your child in any capacity just sit and take it. I feel this is a true case of her family. We're excited for her to be able to experience normal teenage things but overlook the issues. Not the idiot, all of your concerns are valid, and it's a bit weird that her parents are fine with it, but maybe they're trying to get her into a relationship so she doesn't have to be alone forever? At this point, if your son doesn't want to speak to you, he may need more time, but I wouldn't take it personally. I do agree with the previous comments mentioning that your son could have been opening himself to legal trouble. That's definitely something to think about, and maybe you should have that talk with your son so he understands that angle of it too. My cat, Midnight, is about 12 years old. She is, and has always been, one of the sweetest cats I own. Like curls up on my chest under the blankets, licks my cheek, and purrs herself to sleep. I've had her for almost 10 years, and she is my baby. She's very nervous around others because, before coming to me, her previous owner abused her and tried to drown her in a river. So she'll usually hide under a bed or a couch when my boyfriend and I have company. She may come out if our friends are quieter or if we're not moving around much. A friend of ours came by today with her son, about 7 years old. He knows we have cats. Our other cat, Rocky, is a ham. He's a huge fluffy cat that loves people. He will approach anyone and flop across you as long as you pet him. So when her son asked where the cats were, we directed him to Rocky, but he said he wanted to see Midnight. I explained that she's shy, so she's hiding. Shortly after, I watched her come barreling out of the bedroom and into the corner of the kitchen. So I scooped her up, and she was shaking. My friend's son ran out after her, laughing. I told him again that she's shy, and now she's scared. I warned him that if she gets scared, she is a very small cat, she might scratch him to protect herself and that he should leave her alone. I put her back in my room and shut the door. I told my friend what I had told him, and she took him into the backyard with my BF so he could start grilling up lunch. At some point, her kid came back inside while I was cooking, and went into my room. He ended up cornering Midnight, and in self-defense, she scratched him. And since he had his face near her, she got him good down the side of his face. He started screaming and crying and told his mom that my cat attacked him. My friend was furious because her son was so badly hurt. I will admit, it did look painful. I think he pulled away while she was scratching and her claws got caught in his skin. She said that if I didn't get my vicious cat put down or declawed, she was going to sue us for her kids' medical bills, medicine, etc. I didn't even pretend to consider either option. Declawing is cruel, and I'm not putting down my baby for protecting herself after I warned him and separated her. But my neighbors, who heard the commotion and came over to check on everyone, insisted that, no matter how sweet my cat was before, she seriously injured a child and that something needs to be done. Update: I texted her husband earlier to check on how the little guy was doing. He saw the doctor yesterday after they left. There was no sign of infection. He was up to date on his tetanus. They were told to get some Neosporin and keep it clean. No damage to his eye. The husband asked if Midnight was doing okay. Everyone who knows her knows how skittish she can be. He assured me that he had a talk with his kid about respecting animals and respecting the rules in another person's house. I did tell him that I wasn't comfortable with them coming here for the time being, and he understood. My friend is still angry because she still thinks my cat should have been trained better than to scratch someone in self-defense. She's dropped the "I'm suing" line, but she still thinks I should declaw my cat, which I made very clear I will not do. Also, Midnight has been so overjoyed by all the extra snuggles today. Thank you all so much for your advice. I reached out to a friend who is a lawyer, who offered to help pro bono if it does get taken to court, but he's fairly certain it won't. Update 2. She is continuing to insist my cat be declawed for her son's safety in case they ever go over again. So today I told her she and her son are no longer welcome in my house. She found that unacceptable and hung up on me. Safe to say, I believe this friendship is over. Not the idiot, and that kid is lucky his learning experience was with a cat and not a bigger animal that could have seriously injured or killed him. I bet he is more careful to listen next time someone tells him to respect an animal. If he had pulled that kind of stuff with a big dog, he'd be in a much worse state than just some scratches down his face. Don't even think about declawing or euthanizing your cat, and you don't owe your dumb friend a cent. Not the idiot, and frankly I'm disgusted that his mother is letting him get away with terrorizing your cat. 7 years is more than old enough to understand to leave the cat alone. As for your neighbor, what a stupid thing to say. Cats aren't like dogs. It's not suddenly going to be attacking everyone because it's got a taste for blood. Not the idiot. Wow, screw those parents. The kid didn't listen to grown-ups and got burned. Boo-hoo, it's just a cat scratch. Personally, I would have told them to leave the first time after the kid chased the cat. They have no legal ground to have your cat put down. Explain the story to authorities if involved and tell the stupid kid's parents to shut up.